Camorley, Michael Innes, Morris, Ben Hannett first game back. Goodwin hadn't played for a couple of weeks. You know, I think they're going to be very good in the next 5 or 6 weeks, and this week will be a tough game against South.
So much information is available to a coaching staff and the players in the modern era to plan and also to counter, but how much of a game is actually planned and how much is actually just off the cuff?
I think there's a little part of it that's set play. A lot of it's off the cuff, but mainly we work to a certain area, and just like when I was at Brisbane and when I played Origin, is you got to play what you see. You can't be too structured. You can be structured to a certain extent, and then from there you got to play footy. That's what we got those great players out wide who, when they see something, they take it.
We have some set play. It's not so much about set play. It's more about our structure, and it's about knowing what we do and go forward. It's about knowing what we do with good ball situations. And predominantly, I think 80% of the game is not set play situations. It's you're going back to back on kick chase, and then you get the ball back or turnovers and that sort of thing. So that's where our structure comes into play, and we know pretty well what we do there. And then from time to time you get your penalties and you come up with a few set play situations, but it's more about the structure and the shape that you have.
In a Michael Hagan coach side, how much is planned, how much just happens?
I think a few comments there are similar. I mean, when you had an Andrew Johns, Danny Badiris, who are very good players, you still had some points in the field you needed to get to, but you had some structure. You would work when you got to certain parts of the field, and they were good enough to recognise what to play when. And I think, with Brett Camorley and Michael Innes, it's a very similar situation.
Is it, Brett? Are you playing to a point on the field and moving from there?
Yeah, pretty much. We have certain set plays that apply to certain parts of the field. So we're either going to the middle or we're going to an edge, and on the back of that, as soon as we get a quick play of the ball, it's about getting with Mick and identifying just what's going to work.
Ben Roberts, in years past, has had no problems finding an issue off the field, and thankfully that's turned around dramatically. Equally as impressive is his performances on the field. He's developed into a pretty consistent performer, but what has changed about his game to bring this on?
I think he knows his role within the team. I think, certainly with Michael Innes coming on board as number 9 and having a very definite way about he plays, and certainly Noddy as well, has been a tremendous attribute for Ben. And those two blokes, I suppose, control the game for us, which allows Ben to focus on what he does well. And the more he does well what he knows he's got to do, he can start, adding to his game and becoming a little bit more involved in, some of the decision making and the responsibilities. And I think he's done that gradually through the year. And he knows that he needs to keep working on probably consistency. In the past he's probably had one good game and then one average game and then maybe a poor game. This year he's brought that back to, he's been really good for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. He still drops off from time to time, so he's got to improve that.
Well, I'd imagine it'd be a hard gig sort of running the team. And yeah, some players just, that's not their go, and I think Benny's sort of found his little spot where he just gets the ball, organises the players outside him or takes the line on, and I think it's really suited him.
Few raps for this fella here. Now, my little mate, we think you're perfect, but if there has been a criticism previously, it's been that you're too dominating or dominant on the field. I ask Kevin more simply, yes or no, is Noddy too dominating?
No, I don't think so. And if he is a touch too dominating, if there's one player in your team that you want that to be the case, it's your halfback. So, mate, Noddy's been outstanding for our club. That's what we've been looking for, I think, over the last few years. We're probably like that either number 7 or 6 who can put his hand up and direct the team around and show the way, both on and off the field. And Noddy's been fantastic for us.
Self-assessment. You too dominating?
Not this year, I think. In the past, I've been really taking a lot of ball, make sure I was very aggressive on steering the side around and not letting them play football. This year I actually feel like I'm playing football. I give us a direction on the football field, give us some guidance and maturity about kicking game and building a game. Don't probably shut up too much at training, but that's more on the field than off the field. But I actually feel like I'm playing football again, and I think it shows in the happiness I've got. I'm just enjoying football.
There are 2 different roles for A, an inexperienced 7, but B, an experienced 7. Inexperienced means they can run all day, but experience means moving in at the right time. And
they know when to come in, they know when to run, they know the end of their set's got to be good. But I think Ben Roberts has really improved because he doesn't have as much pressure on him, and you've got a 7 and 9. And Luke Patton, I think, at the back has been terrific, tremendous for all of those players and their team.
The experience of the Dogs, as Haig said, also comes from the back. Noddy might control the front line from the front line, but also playing a controlling role is the general Luke Patton. 251 games on his resume. He plays a controlling and a crucial role, but his is from the back.
Well, defensively, I think it's one of my strengths, just talking and really working in the tight area. The blokes you have coming back from the tackle, you're sort of trying to direct them where to go. Obviously, they can't see, they haven't got eyes in the back of their head, so they don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to be their eyes, get them in the right spots. And also, players on the other side, like a Jonathan Thurston, for example, you're telling your defensive players what to expect from him, telling them there's no dummies and things like that. So just little tips to players, try and keep them on the game.
Your fullback tells you where to go. I don't look, I'm mainly focused on getting back in that, but you always hear him. When I was in Brisbane, Carmichael Hunt's a massive talker, and it's great coming here, and generally he's fantastic as well. When I'm getting back, I'm just getting a call left or right. It just makes it, that's one less thing I have to worry about, and just to get there as quick as possible. And they've got a massive role. People don't realise how much fullbacks do in the game, but because they're at the back, but there's a lot of talking they do and a lot of organising.
What a podium it is as far as talkers. You, Luke Patton, and our man Mick Ennis. Who talks the most?
Oh, we're on the podium together, aren't we? Hey, it's a fight, but no, I think we all play very similar football. We all know about how what it takes to win, where we want everyone to be. General's the ultimate professional. You know, he's great at what we need to bring. He was really good in new players arriving at the club last year. What needs to improve? What we need to make sure we never happens here again in off-field. And he was great on that. So we've got a lot of good talkers. A lot of blokes that are pretty loud. You know, Benny Hannett does a fair bit of talking, but it's all generally good talk. You know, there's a buzz around training at the moment, or not last week, but there has been a buzz around training. So let's hope it returns. And you know, enthusiasm shows that everyone's pretty happy. And when you're enthusiastic, there's a lot of noise.
We've seen a trend over the last couple of years in regards to defending kicks against certain teams where just the one winger drops back to assist the fullback. It means a left fullback, right fullback type of role. This opposed to the old both wingers drop back theory that I guess we heard from under 10s up until first grade. But why the change?
Yeah, I guess teams have gotten better at running the ball on the last, so you've got to be really careful dropping people back early. But then it's such a big part of the game these days if you get the ball on the full as well with great kick chases and stuff. So it can be a tough one. I guess that sort of comes back to the talk between the wingers and the fullback, and probably the work that you do during the week on watching the kickers, where their preferred kicking areas are as well.
Our look at the Bulldogs, and a big announcement today for the club with Storm winger Steve Turner signing with the Dogs for a couple of years, an ideal replacement for Hazem El Masri at the end of the season. Okay, after